Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and RWA fans here in Providence, Rhode Island, and watching all across the USA on YouTube. Welcome to an RWA special report. I'm Rob Masse, reporting for the Renegade Wrestling Alliance. In 2008, a young up-and-comer named JT Dunn debuted here in the Renegade Wrestling Alliance. Back in September of 2008, we didn't know exactly where JT Dunn could go, but one person's dream became a reality. Now here we are in 2015. He is one of the most recognizable names in independent professional wrestling today, and by many accounts is on his way to make the leap to either the mothership or one of the big companies here in the United States and all across the world. Before we bring out our guest here tonight, one of the fans of the Juice, JT Dunn, put together a tribute video. So we're going to cue that up. This was done by a fan, Corey Vaughn, as a tribute to the Juice, JT Dunn.
You want to know some truth? I was 17 years old, sleeping on a park bench 2 streets over in Providence, Rhode Island. And then I found professional fucking wrestling. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to make people proud of me being a professional wrestler for nothing. I am your savior. I can get wicked. I get wicked. I get wicked. There's no escaping it. Wicked. You wanna kick it? Watch me get wicked. Step up and get it, 'cause I get wicked. Came to rip this spot up. Stick to clones, 'cause the devil wears Prada. We want peace, but we can make this ratty. Stop. We don't wanna hurt nobody. You can't hang me, 'cause my nature's nice. And my heart's for the people of the world tonight. If you got a problem with it, take it up with life. 'Cause if you try to push me, it ain't gonna be nice. I get wicked, wicked, I get wicked. There's no escaping it, wicked. You wanna kick it? Watch me get wicked. Step up and get it, 'cause I am not afraid of this mountain in my way. You can push me to my knees, I believe. And I am now awake, uncontrolled and not ashamed. When it rushes over me, I feel free. P.S. Don't play me like a 3DS. These cats can't see us. They're checking the wrong mirrors. Cavaliers don't mistake kindness for weakness. They never wanted to hear us. Blown speakers, spitting the Trinity, hook, line, and sequence, hitting your brain like a G6. No secrets. My fate's my life. It's rolling the dice. If you try to push me, it ain't gonna be nice. I get wicked, wicked. I get wicked. There's no escaping it, wicked. You wanna kick it? Watch me get wicked. Step up and get it, 'cause I am not afraid of this mountain in my way. You can push me to my knees, I believe. And I am now awake, uncontrolled and not ashamed. When it rushes over me, I feel free. Go! I can be nice. Don't test me. I get wicked, wicked. I get wicked. There's no escaping it, wicked. You wanna kick it? Watch me get wicked. Step up and get it, 'cause I get wicked when you come against me. So quit it, stop trying to push me around. Let's kick it. If you really wanna touch fire, come get it. Step up, I'll bring you down. Think I'm not going to face you crazy. Step up and get it, 'cause I get wicked.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest at this time. Welcome home, pro wrestling savior, the Juice, JT Dunn.
Don't test me.
JT, thanks a lot for joining us here, taking the time out of your schedule to sit down and talk with us for a couple minutes.
You make me seem way more busier than I really am.
Well,
is this on?
It is. They can't. It's more for television.
Talk louder. Okay. Sorry, guys.
You have started calling yourself.
Hey, keep it down back there. I'm trying to be cool and stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Little over a year ago, you started referring to yourself as pro wrestling savior. My first question is going to be, one, does professional wrestling need to be saved, and why are you the one to save it?
Well, a little correction on that. I didn't start calling myself professional wrestling savior. The fans here in New England started doing that because New England kind of fell into an aura of being really good and producing a lot of good talent, and then out of nowhere it turned, and a lot of guys left, a lot of guys were signed, and there was nobody really here to give this place longevity. And I had been around for a while, but around that time I wasn't really good, and I was just really ignorant and just rude, and I was a bad person. And then I started just understanding wrestling better, and it started clicking for me, and I started getting more and more opportunities, and people started seeing me as the guy to really reboot New England and to put us back on the map as being like a feeding ground for the best talent in professional wrestling, and I really stick true to that. I think New England produces the best overall professional wrestlers. A lot of the guys that are top in Ring of Honor or anything like that were just homegrown from here, whether it be the Killer Kowalski School at New England Pro Wrestling Academy, the Top Rope School, a lot of guys coming from here now. There's so many different elements to New England, and I think people really see me as the perfect representation of what New England wrestling should be. And to answer your other question, do I think wrestling needs to be saved? I think a year ago, wrestling overall was in a very bad position. And I think a lot of guys were losing opportunities, and the word politics always comes up in wrestling, and I think that plays a very strong play into wrestling, whether it be in the locker room or in the ring. Guys rather work against each other than work together. And I've been doing my best and my part to really stand true and represent a locker room and speak for the fans and say, that stuff needs to stop, man. If the more that people do that and the more narrow-minded they are, eventually, places like this aren't going to exist, and people aren't going to want to pay to see wrestling anymore. Wrestlers aren't going to want to wrestle anymore. You're going to see companies die out. And for people who are here who are diehard New England wrestling fans, for a while, you just watch company after company come in and die. And they were just they put on one big show, somebody would spend a bunch of money, and then they were gone, man. And there's people don't realize that these are some people's jobs. And some guys want to play around with that. And for me, it's just I don't stand for that, man. I want to make sure that all these people are entertained, and that me, myself, I want to have a go at this professional wrestling thing. So, yeah, I'm going to save wrestling.
You talked actually on the tribute video, and you've said multiple times that in very young on in your life, at the age 17, you were in a very bad spot. From 17 to today, how has it changed, and how has wrestling really impacted where you are and the wrestler and the person that you are today?
Oh, man. Good question. Wrestling has really just changed my life. I would say at first for a super negative, very, very bad. But now it's the most positive thing in my life. When I was younger, it's open knowledge, I was an addict. I was addicted to drugs, alcohol, and pills, and it was very hard, man. I went to school here, and I played football, and I kind of got the luxury of being a Division I football player, being a guy who was scouted, and I kind of had all these opportunities handed to me. And I was a really young kid at that time, hanging out with the older kids, so anything that was accessible to them was now accessible to me, just for the fact that I played football. So I took advantage of that in every negative way, and I didn't realize that I could use those opportunities to help others or help myself to get into a better position. So I just got more involved in drugs and alcohol. And then once I started training for wrestling, I realized that in wrestling, it's the same thing. There's so many negatives in professional wrestling, and I let them all consume me. And I don't even say that in there were some bad days and there were some good days. No, every day was a bad day. I was always on pills because my body was just aching. I was torturing myself in between training for football and then training for wrestling and then traveling for wrestling. And I have severe insomnia, so I don't sleep as it is. So I would use all those things to kind of just cope myself down and to try to bury all the negatives that I had. And I didn't realize that I was digging myself deeper and deeper and deeper. And it wasn't until actually shortly after, ironically, I turned 21, where I was just kind of man, my life is really bad. And even at that moment, I kind of sat down with a bunch of friends, and I was I'm going to get clean. Like, I want to do this thing. And they were like, yeah, whatever, JT. Like, you're not going to do anything. Like, we all know how you are. And they were right at that point. I went to a really bad state after that, and I OD'd. And luckily, I'm still here, but it was that moment where I was kind of like, oh man, like the fact that like I can almost lose my life because of all these drugs and alcohol, like it's a very severe thing. And there's people like I don't hate on people who drink or do drugs, whatever, man, do your thing. I just wasn't in control of it, and that's the main thing is having control. And now with wrestling, I'm able to see the opportunities that I've earned. I can use those for positives, and I can go and reach people and talk to people because a lot of people don't realize that like being a professional wrestler, I'm still just a person. Like I have feelings, I have emotions. Like I hurt, I live life. I do the same things everybody else does. Like I wake up and put my pants on too. Like it's the same thing. But a lot of people are nervous to reach out to anybody and to say, hey man, like I have this problem, like, but they think because I'm a wrestler, I'm like superhuman. I'm immune to anything being negative. And I think when I came out and let everybody know that I was a recovering addict, it was a very big moment in my life because I had so many people reach out to me and they're like, "Hey man, like I battle with addiction, like I battle with this. Is there anything you can do?" So it was really cool for me to go back and kind of fix all those wounds that I had created. And I started like doing seminars and talking to people and just hosting events to really let everybody know how dangerous substance abuse really can be, especially with with the life that I live in professional wrestling, how it impacted me so negatively. And I was able to turn that around and kind of get to where I am now. And now I'm almost 3 years clean and sober, man.
That's excellent. Now, going...
Thank you.
In speaking about you being an addict and the hardships you put your body through, we see in the news, even most recently, the NFL, the NHL are focusing a lot on head injuries, a lot about addiction, stuff like that. Professional wrestling has the same problems, but it's looked as a negative connotation because everybody sees wrestling as well. It's kind of a side. It's still the carnival barkers. It's fake. Are there people like you, other than yourself, that are out there trying to speak to the other end of this? Because professional wrestling has about as many addicts and many problems with head injuries on every level that the NFL, the NHL, and all the other major sports
do. No doubt about that. There's definitely, and through opening up and talking about it, I've come in contact with a lot of guys, mainly like on the independent level, that have now realized that they have this power, so to speak, to reach people and to really impact their lives with everything that they say. And it's really cool, man, because like, I was lost for so long, and I didn't know things like this existed. I always tell everybody, man, I shouldn't have these opportunities. Like in my mind, I'm just like, man, like I was a poor kid that grew up in the man projects. Like I shouldn't be able to impact somebody's life. But even as I look around this room, there's at least a dozen people who I've had personal conversations with who have told me there's things that they need help with, and it's like I'm always here to help people and to be able to know that there's guys that I look up to in wrestling that also do that for other people. Like it's just mind-blowing, like how well, if we all work together, how many different things we can do and how many different people, like no pun intended, can save because they're so lost and they're confused and some people just don't know how to ask for help.
In general, speaking of people who are having problems, how important is a place like the RWA where you can come, you can get a free wrestling show 9 times out of 10, or pay at a very small price to come and see what you guys do. You can come to training, find an outlet that isn't a negative outlet. How important is a small place like this in a place like Rhode Island?
Oh, in Rhode Island, this is church, man. This is Mecca. Like this kind of place, they're so rare, and I see it from traveling around so often. There's places that are similar to this, but it's kind of just I shouldn't say most time. Let's go 6 out of 10 times. It's just somebody who just wants people's money and just wants a bunch of students and wants to put on a wrestling show because they want to be a wrestling promoter or they want to be the champion of their own promotion or some stupid thing like that. But here, and I've told everybody for a long time, man, like this place has always been something special to me because this is where I started, and I did a few things before here, but this is where I was created. Like, this is where I was given the opportunity to kind of just sit in this ring. And T will tell you, I used to sit in this ring for hours and just not do anything, just sit in the ring because, like, I just felt at home here. I feel more comfortable in a wrestling ring than I do in my own bedroom. Like, this is just this is what was my opportunity to be able to cleanse myself and release all the negatives and to be able to give back. And when we opened the school here originally, I was very, very tough on students, and I told them, like, if anybody wanted to train here, like, you couldn't pull any of that stuff outside. Like, if you did drugs or you did alcohol, like, that's cool, man. Like, keep that at home, keep that for your parties, keep that like, to yourself. Don't bring any of that in here. Like, I don't want anybody getting in trouble with the police. And you can ask some of the students. There was kids who didn't follow those rules, man, and I lost it. And I'm a very, very mild man. I don't get mad. Nothing really bothers me anymore. But, like, seeing things like that, because, like, I was putting so much into these guys to help them and to teach them professional wrestling and to teach them the benefits it has in your life. And some guys think it's a joke. They just want to play a wrestler on the weekend. And I'm not down with that. I'm not cool. Like, this is my life. And but I think the RWA itself, man, it's so great. And now in correlation with Beyond Wrestling, like, man, I don't think some people understand how much of an opportunity being here really, really is, especially for guys like Mike Montero and Jason Devine, who, like, I'm very close with, and working with them in training. I remember last year their big goal was, like, we got to get to FET. We got to get to FET. Like, they knew what it was. And I just wish more people would take advantage of that and realize that, like, right down the street, man, there's an opportunity to become a superstar. And some guys are just sitting here just putting their thumb up their ass.
One of the things, especially when you were still working here but starting to really branch out, a lot of people who I spoke to said that you were one of the hardest working men in professional wrestling because you're here on Saturday, you're in Chicago on Sunday, you're in Florida on Monday. The fact that you are almost literally in a different state every 2 days doing another promotion. Now you're in Canada. Now you're thinking about possibly branching out to Japan.
Yep.
Is that the way today to get really noticed in wrestling, to make the next step? Or is it finding that one niche company? Because one thing that I have noticed following you on Twitter, following you on Facebook, that you really are just about everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can take a little bit of A and a little bit of B. I think depending on what you're comfortable in doing and who you are is really plays a very important part. Like, for example, somebody who maybe has the right friends can kind of stay in one place, and, like, things will be given to them. I shouldn't say given. They've earned them, but the opportunities will come to them. Where for me, like, I've always cut my teeth on the road, man. Like, I love being on the road because, again, I was a poor kid from Providence. Like, to me, I'm always like, I shouldn't have these opportunities. I'm going to take advantage of them. Like, I've worked hard for them. I've earned them. I'm going to sit in this car. I'm going to drive here. I'm going to fly here because, like, that's what the guys before me did. Like the fact that now one of my good friends, Paul London, the fact that he still tells me stories about sitting in a car and driving to a show just for the hell of it because he loves it. Like, who am I to do anything different? Like, I idolize that man. And if Paul London's going to get in a car and drive across Texas, then I'm going to get in a car and drive to Florida. Like, whatever, man. That's how people do it. I think nowadays a lot of people are very, very lucky with social media and the outsource of YouTube. And I can honestly say that if it wasn't for, like, MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, I wouldn't be here because there's a lot of places that will film your wrestling matches or whatever, and even if they're high profile, they'll never see the light of day. And I have, and Corey will tell you, I talk to him often, I have thousands of matches with top guys that nobody's ever going to see because people won't release it, and it's just mind-blowing to me. It's just like, man, I have a match that went on 30 minutes with Johnny Gargano sitting on my laptop. That was probably my best professional wrestling match ever. Nobody's ever going to see unless you were there live. And it's just crazy to me to think, like, that stuff like that actually happens. But, like, I'm going to be a guy who cuts my teeth on the road. I'm going to tell anybody who wants to be a wrestler, get in a car, like, drive, pay your dues, go out there, experience it, man, because that's what it is. It's an experience. Like, professional wrestling isn't just something you do. It's something you experience, and you're really not going to learn to appreciate it unless you are in a car, jam-packed with 6 dudes, sweating, smelling like ass after a show, driving from Tampa Bay, Florida, back to Providence. Like, that, like, that's what life's about, man. And that's a weird thing to say. Like, please don't let that be the quote of the day. Like, life's balls in a car. Like, but that's what it is, man. Like, and anybody here who's cut their teeth on the road, man, they'll tell you it's insane. But it's just something that everybody wants to be a part of when you're one of the boys. And I used to tell all these guys, like Antonio, the referee, I took him down with me to Florida for an FIP Evolve weekend, man. It changed his life. Like, some guys just don't know if they want to do it. And I always tell everybody, if you want to be a wrestler and if you're unsure about it, jump in the car with some veterans, pay your dues, go on one weekend road trip, try to make it a 3-day thing. And at the end of the weekend, if you're still alive, like, you can do it, man.
You talked a little bit about how social media has really impacted professional wrestling. Over the last 10 years, there's been a major resurgence in independent wrestling.
For sure.
Are the indies today the new territories and the second choice to what the product in Connecticut and the major product in Florida is putting out?
Yeah, I would say to a degree they are like the new territories, but I feel like it's like you said, things expanded, they advanced. I feel like it's a more advanced version of that. You obviously have like your lower level things that like you cut your teeth in until you can get to the bigger ones. But the bigger promotions that run, man, like they in their eyes are the best thing out there. So it's really hard to like. For me, I try to work for all of them, and obviously there's going to be tension between like, oh, you can't come here, you got to come here, like this date, that date, and it's really hard to balance them out because they all want to be the top territory, the top promotion underneath like Connecticut and Florida and even Ring of Honor. Like Ring of Honor is one of the best out there, so like all these other people are trying to compete with them, but they don't realize if they just became their own entity, like. They don't have to compete. Like they can coincide and work together and like help produce talent to get to that next level. There's so many people like just butting heads with each other. They don't realize that if this guy helped this guy, he's moving up. A spot opens. This guy helps this guy. 3 guys move up. It's a cycling filter, and people just want to stop it. They're just like, oh no, it's not his time yet. I'm gonna be the guy that goes next, and they don't realize that could stop a whole promotion. Like a whole show can literally go out of business because of one greedy person, and that's not fair. And it's just like they need to work with the territories where they just shop people around. That people should be allowed to just go wherever the hell they want to go. Like it's independent professional wrestling. Like I make my own rules, damn it.
The key word being independent.
Independent, man, independent.
Now you have traveled across the country. You've been to Canada, but then you come back home and you face Chris Hero in a match, and the entire crowd at FET is battling each other between he's our savior and he's our hero.
That's probably one of the coolest moments of my life.
Coming through that curtain, coming back home after traveling, what is that like?
Man, I wrestle in some really cool places all around the world, and coming home to Providence is like the greatest thing ever. Because like here, like I feel like I'm just like a regular guy, man, and I resonate with these people, like because we're from the same place. Like nobody really understands. I'm sure it's the same thing where people are like, oh, I'm from Tampa, so everybody like this is how Tampa lifestyle is. Like Providence is mean, man. It's cutthroat. Like it's kill or be killed. And like to come home and to just be recepted as the guy who's made it from here, from this area, and I've never lost like track of where I came from. Like I know that I represent Rhode Island, I represent Providence, I represent RWA. Like everything I do is to give back to Providence, and for that to be so open-handedly recepted and people to really follow and what I'm trying to sell to them inevitably, it's just so cool, man. It's really cool.
My last question is probably the one that everybody's asking. What is next for JT Dunn? What is the next step for you? You are one of the most recognized faces in independent wrestling. Between the Juicy product now teaming with Chris Hero, which will be tomorrow night at Beyond Wrestling's Hit and Run.
Absolutely.
What's the next step for you in your career?
Oh man, everything. And you know what? I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and we were kind of touching base on this. And for a while, I always told everybody that I wasn't like a TV guy, and like I was meant to be an independent wrestler, to travel the world, to sit in a car forever and wrestle in front of different people every night, and that was going to be my life, my journey, because that's what I wanted. And my end goal has always been, I need to go to Japan and just be there forever and never come back, because that's where I see myself, man. And then after last year and heading into the beginning of this year, everything changed. So many opportunities are out there, not only for me, but for so many other people. And I see that just from being around them, that now I realize there's so many other things I can do with, like, from wrestling and with wrestling, that I'll be damned if I don't take advantage of every single one of them. And right now there's a lot of cool things in the works that will be released as we go along throughout the year. But man, I'm really, really excited. And like, I was telling some friends back there that in December I almost retired. Not I shouldn't retire because it's a hobby. I guess it's my job. But like, I told myself by the time I turned 25 years old, if I didn't have a major contract, I would leave wrestling and go back to school. And I turned 25 last December. And then for the first time when I teamed with Hero was December 28th at FET. And it was that day that changed everything for me. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stick this out, man. Like, there's so many cool opportunities that I think I can go with it. And it really took a half-hour conversation sitting down with Chris and just talking with him. And like, I'll never say to anybody like, I'm the best professional wrestler in the world, because like, I don't know, man, I'm just a wrestler. I'm just a dude. But it's about time I start believing my own hype and realizing that like, I work harder than the rest, and I put the work in, and it's time to reap the benefits. And I'm not make that childish mistake I made at 17. I'm going to use everything that I get going forward to give back to New England and give back to wrestling and give back to these guys in the back who are just killing it just as much as I am, and give back to everybody who pays their hard-earned money to come here and watch wrestling. This is our escape. Like, it shouldn't be taken away. I want to make sure it flourishes.
JT Dunn will be here at the Chop Shop in just probably about an hour or so, teaming with Kimberly against The Influence. He'll be at Fet Music tomorrow at Beyond Wrestling's Hit and Run. And if you want to see JT Dunn, well, follow him on Twitter and Facebook through the magic of television. We'll put that on your screen. JT, thank you very much for sitting down with us. This was a lot of fun. Ladies and gentlemen, JT Dunn.